This year, the government is introducing a new approved document, Part O. Part O aims to protect the health and welfare of occupants of a building by reducing the occurrences of high indoor temperatures. The regulations in Part O are intended to mitigate the future risks of global temperature increase and the increased frequency of extreme events such as heat waves. It is a response to buildings where occupants have experienced high temperatures that impact on their quality of life. It also addresses the changing methods of construction, with lightweight structures or modern methods of construction becoming more popular. The new Part O for overheating comes into effect on the 15th of June 2022. It applies to new residential buildings such as dwellings, flats, student accommodation, HIMOs and care homes, but does not apply to hotels. It includes the shared and communal areas within residential buildings, such as the concierges, the lounges and the dining rooms. In mixed-use buildings, it does not include the non-residential purpose groups or class types, such as ground floor retail or office floors. Currently, residential buildings formed by a material change of use are not within the scope of this approved document. Reasonable provisions should be made to limit unwanted solar gains in summer and provide an adequate means to remove heat from the indoor environment. The safety of any occupant and their reasonable enjoyment of the residence must be taken into account. Mechanical cooling may only be used where it is not possible to remove sufficient heat from the indoor environment without it. Of course, the approved guidance cannot guarantee the comfort of the building occupants, as everyone has a different tolerance to comfortable temperatures. These requirements are for the English Part O only. The Welsh overheating regulations will be covered by their new approved document Part S, which is still currently in consultation. There are transitional provisions for the new Part O. Under these, the new 2022 Part O will apply unless an initial notice has been submitted before the 15th of June 2022 and work starts on site before the 15th of June 2023. For multiple dwellings or buildings on an application, work on each unit must have commenced for the transitional provisions to apply. For example, on an application for 100 dwellings, applications must be submitted and the work on all 100 units must be commenced. If just 10 dwellings have started, the remaining 90 dwellings must comply with the new Part O. Foundations for blocks of flats are considered to start on site for all the units within the block. There are two routes to compliance contained within the approved document. There is the Simplified Method and the Dynamic Thermal Modelling Method, or DTM. For dwellings, Simplified Method rather than DTM is likely to be used. For the Simplified Method, the strategy to reduce overheating is selected according to the location of the building and whether it has cross ventilation. New buildings constructed in some areas of central London and Manchester are considered to be in a high-risk location. All other parts of England are considered to be medium-risk locations. Specific high-risk postcode areas are detailed within Appendix C of Part O. The risk of overheating is determined by a combination of the building's location overheating risk category and whether it has cross ventilation. To be considered as having cross ventilation, new residential buildings need to have openings on opposite facades. Single facade and corner flat units do not have cross ventilation. Each residential unit, shared communal room or common space should be assessed separately. Tables 1.1 and 1.2 in approved document O detail the maximum permitted glazed areas. There are two figures to comply with, one for the facade as a whole and one for the most glazed room within that facade. Maximum permitted areas are percentages of the floor areas or percentages of room area for the most glazed room in the building. Buildings in high-risk locations should also provide shading for glazed areas at certain points. Means for achieving this are detailed in the approved document. These tables 1.3 and 1.4 within approved document O provide minimum free areas, i.e. the open area of a ventilated opening, for buildings or rooms. Minimum free areas are calculated from the greater of the specified figures for percentages of floor area or percentage of glazed area. There is a total minimum free area for each bedroom, plus a minimum free area for the whole development. The simplified model is not suitable for multi-unit buildings which use a communal heating or hot water system with significant horizontal pipework. Primary distribution of pipework should be through vertical risers to minimise heat gains to corridors. With vertical distribution, the simplified method can be used. In some cases, e.g. buildings with very high levels of insulation or that are shaded by the neighbouring environment, DTM may offer more design flexibility. The assessment should follow the methodology contained within the SIBC Guide TM59. Part O, Section 2.5 and 2.6 details some data that should be accounted for in the TM59 modelling. This includes room occupancy hours, opening of windows and maximum temperatures. A TM59 report should be produced that confirms a pass has been achieved. Strategies for reducing overheating risk should still be followed. Solar gains in summer should be limited by any of the following: glazing design size, orientation, the G value of the glass, the depth of the window reveals, fixed shading devices, shutters, external blinds, overhangs, awnings, placement of balconies, shading provided by adjacent buildings, structures or landscaping. However, foliage, internal blinds and curtains should not be taken into account. Excess heat should be removed from the residence by any of the following means: opening windows, ventilated louvers in the external walls, mechanical ventilation systems and mechanical cooling systems. Passive means should be used as far as is reasonably practicable. Mechanical cooling can only be used where requirement O cannot be met by using opening windows or other passive means. There is a requirement to ensure the overheating mitigation strategy is usable. If the local planning authority consider that external noise or traffic pollution is an issue for future occupants, the DTS method becomes more likely. For ground floor and easily accessible bedrooms, the free area of opening windows must be made secure during sleeping hours. Opening windows with risk of falling should have barriers at 1100mm and no gap greater than 100mm with non-climbable guarding. And looped cords must be fitted with child safety devices. The new approved document Part O includes details of interactions with other approved documents. This avoids the risk of silos, where a building meets one part of the building regulations but contravenes another part. This is a response to criticism contained within the Hackett report. The new approved document O is more onerous than some guidance in approved documents parts F, K, Q and other parts of the building regulations. Where there is any conflict, the more onerous requirement would always apply. To prove compliance with the building regulations, it is likely that the building control officer will need to see an overheating calculation for each new dwelling. However, it would be advisable for the designer to complete these calculations at the earliest opportunities. Within 5 days of completion, the person carrying out the work must provide user information to the owner about the overheating mitigation system. The information to be provided can include overheating mitigation strategy, the TM59 assessment or the calculations of the simplified method. Location of equipment and features, instructions, controls, sensors, maintenance and operating instructions should also be provided. We hope that this has been helpful. Apparently, new documents always take a bit of time to explain. This is a really important addition to the regulations. There's no point building something if people find it uncomfortable to be inside. Along with parts F, L, S and others, Part O relates into the government's whole strategy for climate change. This new document will introduce some measurable changes to building construction, so it's important to check how it might affect your project with your building control provider. If you have any questions, get in touch with us via the number on the screen. And if you found this video helpful, please click the like button and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to get updates when we release new content. Thank you.